Yo, what up? This is D Knight from the Pardon the Insurrection podcast, coming to you from Nashville, Tennessee, courtesy of my guy, Tennessee Brando. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Let's get him up to 500,000 followers before the election. We can make that happen. We got plenty of time. But breaking news, there's been a video released of a secret recording between none other than Donald Trump and RFK Jr., the two presidential candidates who are President Biden's biggest competition, and you're not going to believe what's on this video.
I agree with you, man. Something's wrong with that whole system.
Yeah.
And, and it's the doctors you find. Remember I said I want to do small doses. Small doses. When you feed a baby, Bobby, a vaccination that has like 38 different vaccines, and it looks like it's meant for a horse, not a 10-pound or 20-pound baby. It looks like you should be giving a horse this. And do you ever see the size of it, right? It's just massive. And then you see the baby all of a sudden starting to change radically. I've seen it too many times. And then you hear that it doesn't have an impact, right? But you and I talked about that a long time ago. And anyway, I would love you to do something. And I think it'll be so good for you and so big for you. And we're going to win. We're going to win. We're way ahead of the guy. And, he's interesting. It was very nice, actually. He called me. And he said, how did you choose to move to the right? So I guess that's, people see, if I was looking straight on, right? He said, I said, I was just showing a chart. I didn't have to tell him the chart was on all the people pouring into our country, right? But no, I just turned my head to show the chart. And something wrapped me. It felt like a giant, like the world's largest mosquito. And it was a bullet going around. What do they call that, an AR-15 or something? That was a big gun. Those are pretty tough guns, right?
There were quite a few noteworthy revelations in that video, so I can totally understand why RFK Jr. and his team are trying to get that video pulled down. RFK Jr. even put out a statement on Twitter saying that when President Trump called me, I was taping with an in-house videographer. I should have ordered the videographer to stop recording immediately. I am mortified that this was posted. I apologize to the president. Now, Trump isn't currently the president. Biden is, but what you can take from RFK Jr. referring to Trump as such, as though he's currently sitting in the White House right now, is insight into RFK Jr.'s actual political leanings. Like, what side of the aisle does he honestly align with? Well, now you know. And in considering a bunch of the backers of Trump also back RFK Jr., that just gives you more insight into their actual relationship. But when it comes to this video, apart from Trump's insane ramblings about vaccine conspiracy theories, Trump did note that Biden reached out and was quite kind after Trump was almost shot this past weekend. But more importantly, in case you missed it, that was Trump offering RFK Jr. a job in the Trump administration if he'll drop out of the 2024 race and help Trump win the election. Now, if you understand the way Trump works, and this is according to numerous people who have worked for Trump or served under him, Michael Cohen included, who allude to the fact that Trump always speaks in code like a mob boss. He doesn't actually ever come out and say things in a straightforward fashion. And that's part of the reason it's been so difficult to nail him for multiple criminal conspiracies that we all are quite aware that he engaged in, from, conspiring with the Russians in the 2016 election, the meeting in Trump Tower, all the way up to January 6th, and so on and so forth. He speaks in code. But in reality, what that was a former president of the United States who's been convicted of numerous crimes, who's facing numerous more criminal indictments, conspiring with a third-party presidential candidate to win the 2024 election so he can get back into the White House and escape prison. That's insane. And if you're wondering, like, Trump wouldn't do this unless he was absolutely batshit scared that he was going to lose the election. And we just know that for a fact because that's just the way that Trump operates. Like, if he thought he was going to sail into the White House in 2024, he wouldn't be doing this. Well, why does he think RFK Jr. dropping out would be helpful to Trump and harmful to Biden? Well, it just depends on who you believe. RFK Jr. is a third party candidate is siphoning off votes from. But we'll play a clip of RFK Jr. speaking about something that, well, typically tends to align with Republican politicians at this point.
So to be clear, you're not concerned about anything that could come out about you and Jeffrey Epstein?
My plane rides with Jeffrey Epstein, I took 2 plane rides with him. Once in 1993, when I went down to visit my mother in Palm Beach. Remember, nobody knew about anything about Jeffrey Epstein's nefarious activities till 2006. So he was a public figure and a big philanthropist in New York, and many people knew him. My wife knew his girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, and they offered us a ride when we were going down to see my mother. I was with 2 children and my wife on the plane at that time. I knew nothing about Jeffrey Epstein, and then I think 1 or 2 years later, we took my kids fossil hunting on the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota, and those are, that was the extent of anything that I had to do with Jeffrey Epstein's airplane. Of course, I ran across Jeffrey Epstein at parties, at fundraisers.
So besides the extraordinarily strange anti-vax conspiracy theories, the other thing RFK Jr. and Donald Trump have in common is they're currently the only presidential candidates who've both flown on Jeffrey Epstein's plane. If that wasn't insane and wacky enough for you, here's RFK Jr. denying one of the most bizarre things we've ever heard of a presidential candidate. And we currently have one who's responsible for an attempted coup on the legislative branch where his supporters were talking about hanging his own vice president.
They did this story that I ate a dog, and they have a picture of me supposedly eating a dog. And of course, it's not a dog. And they said I was eating a dog in Korea, and that they had checked with experts, metadata experts, and identified it as Korea, and checked with veterinarians who validated that it was a dog, and it's a goat, and it's in Patagonia. And it's a river trip that I used to do on a big whitewater river called the Fu every year. And it's a big, kayaking trip that where that's what we ate. That's what everybody eats down there is goats. I am a very adventurous eater, Chris. I think you know about that about me. I'll eat virtually anything. There's 2 things I wouldn't eat. Well, 3. I wouldn't eat a human. I wouldn't eat a monkey. And I wouldn't eat a dog. I think I'd eat anything else, but...
Responding to claims that you've eaten a dog that include photographic evidence by saying that there's 3 things that you wouldn't eat: a human, a dog, and a monkey. Well, that's hilarious because you'd eat a cat. You can totally understand why Trump believes RFK Jr. is a threat to his chances in November, because someone like this on running as a third-party candidate is likely to pill off Trump voters while simultaneously turning off potential Biden voters. But if he really is out here eating dogs, well, that would explain this.
A campaign spokesperson from independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is brushing off concerns about his health after confirming he was treated for a parasitic brain worm. The revelation came from a 2012 deposition during his divorce, where he said he was experiencing brain fog and memory loss. He said a scan showed the worm ate a portion of his brain, then died, but he claims he required no further treatment and fully recovered. A spokesperson says Kennedy believes he contracted the parasite while traveling in South America, Africa, or Asia for his work as an environmental advocate.
Absolutely nothing about this man says he recovered fully from a worm eating a portion of his brain. For God's sakes, please don't vote for the guy who's eating dogs. Don't vote for the guy who had brain worms. Don't vote for any of the guys who've been on Epstein's plane. And definitely don't vote for the guy who tried to overthrow our democracy on January 6th. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Go ahead, hit the like button to help out the algorithm, and feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if you'd like, you can find me on my personal podcast, Pardon the Insurrection, available everywhere podcasts are found, and also here on YouTube.